You're listening to the Precision Shooting Podcast, discussing all aspects of precision and long-range rifle shooting. This episode is brought to you by Scoped Out Shooting Optics and Accessories. And now, over to your hosts.
Well, hello and welcome to the Precision Shooting Podcast. My name is Rusty. This is episode number 59. And in this episode, joining me via Skype are the Swamp Donkeys. How are you, gentlemen?
Yeah, good, mate. Good.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Rusty.
Excellent. So let's clarify what that actually means. On the line, we have Andy McNeil, who's joined us previously. How you going, Andy?
Yeah, good, Rusty. Yourself?
Excellent, mate. And that's the voice you'll hear there. And then also the other member of the Swamp Donkeys is Scotty Patel. How are you, Scott?
Yes, good, Rusty, mate. Good to be here.
Excellent. Great to have you on. So we're here to have a bit of a chat about the Gunslinger New Zealand event that was earlier this year. Do you want to give us a bit of an overview of that?
Oh, basically, we first heard about it from Greg Hamilton, and he persuaded us to go over there, and we got chatting to a few of the guys over there, and basically it was just all field shooting, which is right up our alley, obviously. So pretty much they just hand you a piece of paper and you go walking around shooting targets. So it sort of takes you away from the whole range aspect of shooting.
Sure.
So it's totally different to what we're used to, and heading over there was pretty much the best comp that I'd been to overseas anyway. So, but they were holding them once a year, and they link in with a few of the other guys from New Caledonia. So they run a silhouette sniper shoot, so they sort of bounce off each other, sending shooters and members over to compete in each one.
Okay, cool.
So
when did you go originally?
We went in 2015 the first time.
Yep.
And obviously this year. And
then this year as well. Excellent. And
yeah.
And Andy, was this you went to the other one as well?
Yeah, mate. Scott, myself, and Greg all went over in 2015, and they didn't hold one in 2016. And then this year, Scotty and I went over again, obviously, and we also had Jason and Tyson come with us this time, as well as Scotty's old man as a bit of a cheer squad
to carry the gear.
Yeah, that's right. Our little Sherpa.
Fantastic. And so, perhaps if you can give us a little bit more on the event. So it's held on, obviously not on a range, on a sort of just on a property, I guess.
Yeah, so it's basically held out at the Sparrowhawk training facility, which is run by RIT, and it's essentially a cattle property. Working cattle property that they run a lot of training there. They do some stuff with the NZ military and things like that, and run the comp there. And it's a very free-form sort of event, not the square range that we're typically used to over here, being a bit more like what the PRI is in that sort of respect, in the fact that it's spread out over a pretty good distance and things like that. And it's field firing positions and things like that, so not necessarily off perfect flat bits of ground and undulating terrain and things like that. So you've got a little bit extra to deal with sometimes.
Yeah, so very much a simulation of proper hunting.
Yeah, so definitely realistic shooting conditions and things like that you'd experience, when you're doing hunting and things like that.
And is it predominantly a long-range event? Or, I mean, I saw a few photos, so I got an idea that it's not all just distance stuff.
No, well, the first year they had a shooter and operator pairing. So I think Andy went over as the shooter in 2015. I went over as the operator. So the operator was pretty much just shooting at 600-700 meters most of the time, and the shooter was obviously shooting all the further distances from then on. But this year they just had pretty much two shooters. So everybody shot the same targets, and it went out to, I think it was the 1200, and then you had your qualifying stages after that. So pretty much everyone was on the same playing field this year.
Yeah, brilliant. So, but you guys shot some other rifles, not your long range rigs?
Yeah, that's right. They also had the carbine qual shoot there that we decided to have a go at this year, which was just shooting some of the ARs that were essentially common guns or something like that. We used them last time for a couple of the shoots as well. But this time, obviously, being 2 precision shooters and no operator, we used our own rifles for all of the competition outside of the carbine qualification shoot, which was the only time we ran the common guns.
Yeah, okay, cool. And so, I mean, not being familiar with the qualification side of things, what did that entail, or what aspect of the competition was that?
So that was essentially outside of the regular scoring of the competition. The carbine shoot was a set shoot, and then the qualification stages were essentially 1,000, 1,200, a mile, and 2,000 meters, which essentially you got 5 shots to have it a go at the target. For the 1,000 and the 1,200, you had to hit at least 2 out of the 5 to qualify or get the qualification. And the 1 mile and the 2 kilometre, 2,000 metre stage, you needed to hit it at least once out of the 5. And they also had a milk jug challenge, I believe, this year, but we didn't actually get time to have a go at that one.
And so is that's run in parallel to the event as a separate sort of thing?
Yeah, sort of. It was supposed to run every afternoon, sort of after the standard competition, but just with weather and things like that, it really only got run on the Sunday, and then on the Thursday or the Friday prior to everything really kicking off.
Yeah, right. So
that's probably one of the. Sorry, that was probably one of the things that we would change. We'll go back and chat about it later, obviously, but that's probably the one thing that Andy and I were pretty disappointed about, because that was one of the things that everybody was really looking forward to, and it was run really different compared to what the first 2015 match was. So we'll talk about that one later, obviously, but that was the main thing that disappointed us, I think, out of the whole shoot.
Yeah, okay. No problems. And probably one of the things that we haven't mentioned yet is the result, how you guys actually went.
Yeah, no, we ended up coming away with the win. We shot pretty consistently.
Yeah, nice.
So when we found out it was all obviously going to be self-scored, and that, we sort of just went out there to compete against ourselves, obviously, because we weren't really a fan of the whole self-scoring thing. But we pretty much just looked at each other and said, "Oh, we'll just compete against ourselves, have a bit of fun, have some fun with Tyson and Jason." That over there was their first time and end up working out for us. So.
Yeah, right. So congratulations, guys. Good to have the Australians over there and representing well. So good ambassadors for it. Good job. I do know that we do have some New Zealand listeners, so we'll just make sure that they know that the Australians won their shoot.
Rub it in a little bit.
Just want to make sure we just hold on that point for a few moments. And so, look, there's a couple of things you mentioned there, obviously with the qualification side of things and the self-scoring. So it's clearly run a bit different to the comps, the PRS and the PRIs and the NT shoots that we're perhaps a little more familiar with here. What would be, apart from the actual range setup, obviously being a sort of field firing positions setup, how did it actually run, and how's that different to what we're perhaps more familiar with here?
So the way it's probably run is essentially you get handed a course of fire or the match brief, and for the most part, last time we went in 2015, it was a little bit different. For the cross country day, essentially was about 8 or 10 Ks thereabout. You reckon, Scotty?
Yeah, it would have been close to that. Yeah.
So sorry, mate. How many days does it run over?
Basically over 2 to 3 days, like Friday through to the Sunday, essentially.
Okay.
Finishing up on the Sunday. And last time there was a big cross-country day, which was out and basically up one ridge line, saddle a bit of a mountain and back down another, and shooting out off the ridge lines. This time it was predominantly like the year before that Greg went to, where most of the stages were set up along the side of the road, and you walked out and there were basically stages along the side of the road.
Okay.
How it differs compared to a lot of stuff here is, with a lot of it, there's no necessarily set firing point, so you can sort of move around a little bit within reason to pick where you want to shoot from with some stages. And a lot of it is unknown distances, and you might have a range brief that gives you a stage description and a rough idea of target distance, but you have to range all your targets yourself. So having a rangefinder was absolutely critical. There was no way around it compared to over here, where a lot of the stuff is either given distance or an unknown distance where you're not allowed to range it, and you've just got to sort of work within that limitation.
Yeah, sure. And so, but I guess aside from that, it runs fairly similar, where you'll go through a number of stages given a certain brief.
Yeah, well, it's pretty much how the same as your PRI, pretty much how it was run with the ones that were actually had ROs on the stand. So you'd rock up, you'd get a brief, and then they'd fill you in on the course of fire, and away you'd go. But they pretty much were only there for the skill set stages. All the rest was just a piece of paper with your course of fire, and you just went through and done your own thing. So I think there was only 3 or something like that was actually RO'd, Andy, or something like that. And they were
I think it was the 3. There was just basically the PRS skill stages, which were at sort of either end of the course, that were actually RO'd and supervised. The rest, essentially, you're out there doing your own thing, basically.
Yeah, right. Okay. And look, we'll get into the stages shortly. One of the things you mentioned, having a rangefinder, was absolutely critical. What else were you running in terms of equipment-wise?
Well, it's funny you ask, because I had to bring everything, and Andy just had nothing. So he was pretty much not me.
Somehow I'm not sure about that.
Look, there's a lot of stuff we should have brought. I should have brought. I think I turned up there with the data book, a Kestrel, and my rangefinder, and that was it.
Yeah, right.
I had my bag, and Andy's going, why are you getting under your weight limit so easy? I said, dude, I'm just pretty good, man. That's all. But I just took nothing.
Yeah, right.
And meanwhile, I'm carting everything around.
So what makes up your pack, Andy? Obviously, we've heard all of Scott's pack.
Pretty typical sort of stuff. That you run a lot of competitions. Obviously, you got your Kestrel. Run a data book with just backup data as far as like a whiz wheel or something along those lines, just in case your electronics go down.
Yep.
You're away from your vehicle pretty much all day, so something you carry that we don't normally carry over here is like rain gear and things like that, and obviously with a bit of inclement weather over there, bit of cold weather gear and stuff like that. But otherwise, rangefinder, Kestrel, your ammo, obviously, a rear bag. Didn't worry too much with stuff like the pump pillows and things like that, because you're lugging it all around. It was a little less essential. There was a little less positional work for the most part compared to like a PRS, PRI type event. Most of it was predominantly prone. With some positional stuff thrown in, but you could sort of make do using your pack and other things like that. Given that you were spending all day out lugging it around, it didn't sort of come up as being a major priority to have that stuff with me.
Yeah, sure. And in terms of rifles, what were you using over there?
Well, I was actually borrowing some more of Andy's stuff, so basically, because I originally was going to run the AXMC with the 338 lap mag barrel on it, but getting the amount of rounds over there that we needed to actually complete the match with was pretty much impossible. So we had to drop it down to the 300 Win Mag, and Andy ran the 260 with his, but I had to borrow Andy's 300 Win Mag barrel and run that
and
over
rifle.
There, so. It's on a rifle too.
Yeah, nice.
So we're both running basically the Acres International AXs. Scotty had the MC, obviously, that he borrowed, and I was just running the short action version 260, and both running the Steiner M5XIs at the moment. So we had both of them on. They were pretty much identical setups, actually, so it made it really easy for if you had to use each other's rifles, they were virtually identical.
Yeah, okay. And was it a team event, or is it individually scored?
Team. You had individual scores, but it was a team event, so your scores counted together.
Okay, yeah, cool. And that's, I mean, if Scott was looking at taking a 338 and you were looking at a 260, I guess we'll find out as we go through the stages, but they seem quite worlds apart in terms of caliber options. What was commonplace over there?
Well, originally we were both looking at taking the long actions, just knowing that there was going to be long range quals out to 2K. Yep. But as we said, getting back to the weight of the ammunition and everything like that, it just became a little bit too problematic to make that work. So knowing that the vast majority of the shooting was sort of 1,300 metres and in, the 260 was more than capable, and then the 300 Win Mag, obviously just as good, and then with a bit of extra legs to stretch out on those longer shots. Obviously not ideal for 2K, but still able to get there.
Okay. Yeah, good. And so it would be it'd be great to cover off on a few of the stages, because I'm guessing at the moment that the stages, you said there's some PRS skill stages, but they're RO'd. The other stuff certainly doesn't sound like you'd have lots of movement to it or huge amounts of transitions. What was the situation?
No, well, the most of the other ones, apart from the PRS ones, you're right. There was sort of like just a lot of them were stationary and just moving up and down if you did have to move at all.
Yep.
The PRS skilled ones, they sort of just introduced them that year to see how they were going and see how people would take to them.
Okay.
So it obviously worked in our favour because we pretty much blitzed all the skill stages, because they're predominantly all the PRS stages that we shoot over here.
Yeah. Yep.
Right up our alley.
I would imagine so.
So one thing with the PRS skill stages that I noticed is they were running them a little bit differently to how we have over here, as far as they had obviously, Rusty, with a lot of the skill stages there, they had that time limit of 90 seconds or thereabouts for each one. And the way they were doing it was a little bit unusual in the fact that they said par was 90 seconds, but you had a time limit of 5 minutes. So it was a bit weird. I don't really know how they were working the scoring on that. And that was a little bit unusual. I think they did that purely because a lot of the guys weren't used to it. I think they were giving them a chance to a bit different to what they were used to, get used to it and get familiar with it. And obviously some of the guys running 338s and stuff like that obviously isn't ideal for positional and things like that for short, fast stages like those skill stages.
Yeah, okay. So they were sort of easing into it perhaps as where they might head in future.
Yeah, pretty much. It certainly had that bit of a feel to it, because we were rattling through it, and you were seeing a lot of the other guys taking their time and running well over the 90 seconds, but staying under that 5 minutes. Whereas we're used to the 90 seconds being the cut-off, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, it's all over. Yeah,
that's right.
So I'm just having a look at a little bit of the matchbook you sent me, and the first thing I see is night shoot stages 1, 2, and 3. They're blind stages. What were they?
They didn't actually happen this year.
Okay, I was going to say, because I didn't recall anything about that. So that's the wrong question to ask.
Bit of a story behind it, but yeah, the night stages essentially just didn't happen this year. So not much to talk about there.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, we shall move on. So it looks like. Do you know how many stages there were all up?
Oh, not off the top of my head. Sorry, mate. I'd have to go through them. And there were a couple that got canned and stuff like that due to target failures. Like there was one stage that was using electronic targets, and just the moisture from the mist and everything that we got, particularly on the first day, just shut them down. They didn't like it at all, and so stages like that. And then one of the other stages, I actually didn't send you a page, because one of the pages that was on there was one of the stages that just got cut.
Yep.
Just didn't happen. So there was a few that didn't eventuate.
Okay, so I've got one here in front of me called the Punk Stage. Was that a good one? And if so, do you want to take us through it? The one with the hearts, diamonds, clubs, spades, targets.
Oh, yep, right, yeah, okay.
Or have I picked another one that didn't go ahead, because I seem to be doing that.
No, that did happen. That was basically just that was spread out along a gully. You basically had 4 steel targets that were obviously in the shape of the suits from a deck of cards, and essentially you had to fire. There was only 5 rounds. You just fired one at each, working your way out, and then there was a set order to do them in, but you basically just worked your way out and then came back on one of the targets. And it was just they were quite small, so they were probably maybe 6 inches thereabouts. You reckon, Scotty?
Yeah. I think that one there, they were definitely under 1.5 MOA for the distance.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they were spread out from. They were relatively far away, so they were along near one of the other stages. It was just set out sort of along this gully, and I think they started at about 550 or thereabouts, and out to about 750, 800.
Yep.
By the time you got to the last one, it was actually up near right next to one of the targets that we were shooting for another stage, which was around that 780 or 800 from memory.
Yep.
So they were quite small targets to be engaging in. Obviously, with only 5 shots, it was really a matter of hit or miss. There was no chance to correct or anything like that. So
yeah, okay, had to be on it.
Yeah, pretty much. If you missed, it was just had to move on to the next one.
Yeah, okay, cool. And do you guys know how you went on that particular one?
On that one there, I think most of us were getting 3 out of 5. I think
Yeah, okay.
there's something funky happening towards the end there because we're shooting in between a big canyon sort of thing, and there's just a big trough of wind coming through that a lot of people I don't think were picking. We weren't picking it, and it was blowing a lot of rounds around at those last 2 targets.
Yeah, right.
So, here we go. I've got it here. Scotty actually got all 5 hits on that one.
He was just being modest, eh?
Yeah, that's right. I've got the scorecard in front of me. I went back through my phone, and
nice.
I got 3 out of the 5. I missed 2 of them.
Yeah, so he's talking about you, wasn't he?
That's right.
Yeah, I can't remember that one. You have to send me that one.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I just brought it up to actually try and gauge how we went. But yeah, according to this, you got all 5 of them, so you're on the money.
Yeah, brilliant.
Let's go.
So, Andy, what was your sort of favourite stage or two that you shot?
Favourite stage? I mean, I enjoyed the PRS skill stages purely because they were fast.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
I shot them fast.
Yeah, I see that they shot all 4 of them, actually.
Yeah, they did. I think, can't remember if they did actually shoot all 4 or whether it was just 3 that we actually shot.
Yeah, right. Yep.
I have to go back and try and have a bit of a look. Or we may have shot them, but they were a minor variation on it.
Yep. Okay.
But I enjoy the fast stages.
Yeah, sure.
I think I know on one of them I actually went up and said, "What's the fastest time?" And then my aim was just to outshoot that, which I did. So I was, so yeah, I just like the fast ones. One of the other ones was right up on that ridge line, Scotty, the one that we had to hike for forever to try and find.
Yeah, that was my favourite too. That one. Yeah.
That was 2 popper targets that were about 800 and something metres away. It was over 900 yards, close to 1,000. And It was only a 10-inch and an 8-inch popper. And you basically had a choice to shoot, obviously, the larger one for 1 point or the smaller one for 2. You could alternate between them however you wanted. You just had 5 shots to shoot at them. So it was just where it was. It was up off a ridge line, shooting across another ridge line down into a target right at the very bottom of this gully. And, yeah, it was a tricky little stage, and they were small targets for the distance, so they were a bit of fun.
Yeah, okay, nice. I'm reading through that one there. Make my day stage. It was.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, no, that looks good. And you guys went all right on that
one? Scotty did. I did okay. No, I mean,
well, that was actually one of my favourite ones, not because of it was more so the fact that was the very first shoot that we had on that second day. So it was going to be a cold bore shot, and it was at a reasonably small target. So just that satisfactory of getting a first round hit for a cold bore at those. And that was pretty much the highlight for me, just hearing that. And then I think I got 4 out of 5. I put 1 on the large one to get the point of impact, and then put 3 out of 4 on the 8-inch.
Yeah, that's right, mate. You got the first one on the large one, missed the second shot on the small one, then went 3 for 3 after that on the small one.
Yeah, so that one there was probably just the satisfaction out of it, I think. But the second one that I liked was actually the one that I'd done the worst on, I think, which was one of the PRS stages. That one there was they had 2 8-inch and a 10-inch scattered from 360 to 550 meters.
Yep.
And that one there you had your 90 seconds again, but you could dial one range. So you could dial one range, and then you had to hold the rest. You couldn't touch your turret, and you had to do that right hand and left hand.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, PRS skills.
Same one we did down at the PRS, I think, down in...
Yeah, so the only change I think they made to that one was you had to dial one of the ranges and then hold off, and then pretty much amateur hour kicked in from then on for the next for the next 45 seconds. So pretty much what I think the reason why I liked that one was because it actually highlighted a fault that I had to come back and review, if you know what I mean. So
yeah,
sort of highlighted a few things I had to touch up on.
I'm guilty of that one as well, mate. I've just been recently working on shooting just on hold, not on dialing. So I'm with you on that. It's you get so used to dialing.
Well, that's the thing. I don't mind dialing or holding, but this one here you had to mix both of them together, and I didn't subtract the difference between what I dialed and what the hold was. So that's what threw me off. I was just going straight onto hold. But
the one advantage though was being a team event, we were allowed to spot for each other.
Yeah, sure.
So it worked out well in the fact that I actually said that to Scotty while he was shooting. He did the second one, went low, and I went, did you hold the total? Did you minus it? And he sort of fired a second shot just to confirm, and then went, oh no, that's what I've done, and corrected on it. So it was good in the fact that it was a bit of a team thing that we could work together on it, which made it still easy to complete it under the time. There was plenty of time there to get the stage finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And any other stages that I'm looking here. This one's called the Dumb Bastard stage.
We would have done awesome at that one.
Yeah, nice. Do you recall that one? It was an IPSC at an unknown distance, around 1,000 meters.
I think that was the one that we actually got told was shooting in the wrong spot or something like that. It wasn't in. That was the one we had dramas with, I think, Andy, wasn't it? Where we were shooting at 20 meters down from where the firing point was.
Oh, yeah, there was. This is one of the sort of things that created a bit of dramas in the fact that with some of the stages had a marked firing position, whereas others didn't. And when we turned up to this particular area, there was about 3 stages spread out in a relatively short frontage that you were shooting from.
Okay.
And there was quite a lot of people there, and essentially it started off when we got there as far as you'd lay down and just look at what people were shooting and go, right, they're shooting this and this, but they're not shooting that. All right, we're going to shoot that. And you just shoot it from where you were and make it work rather than... and one of the other blokes that was shooting that particular stage from up where you were supposed to came down, oh, we're shooting at that target. You're not supposed to be shooting it from here. And we kind of... a little bit of a disagreement in relation to that, but it was just that was the downside a little bit as well of having multiple people in one area shooting at a large number of targets and things like that. There ended up being a little bit of crossfire and miscommunication and things like that.
Yeah, right. So you would as a team you were sort of unregulated. You go through and you could shoot the same stage as another team at the same time, or? Yeah,
well, not really. You were supposed to not obviously shoot it, but that's what I mean as far as there was several really close together as far as like
okay. Yeah.
Probably about 20 meters spread out along a fence line. There was 3 or 4 firing positions with 3 or 4 separate stages. And
right.
So people were shooting the stage where you were set up on a firing point, and one of the other teams was shooting that stage that you were set up on from another firing point. That's where they were, because it just happened to be where they lay down. They decided not to move.
Okay.
And that was the problem. Is some of them weren't really clearly marked. It was just like a little stake of wood with a bit of ribbon on it. So they were pretty easy for some people to miss, and you end up with, like I said, we just laid down and went, all right, well, they're shooting that stage, and we just watched the other targets and went, well, no one's shooting that one, we'll just shoot that one.
Yeah, okay.
And that seemed to be all right, but it just...
It was working when we first got there, because there was 3 courses of fire there and about 6 teams, and everyone's just going, well, what are you guys shooting at? And everybody just said, we'll all lay down in a line and just shoot what other people aren't. But as other teams filtered through, they obviously didn't know what the